I try to get the guests to say incriminating things about themselves. And
Right.
then
And you'll use it for the cold open. So, yes.
Welcome to episode 13 of Cosmic Motion, an audio program where we discuss motion pictures, good, bad, and ugly, and always interesting throughout the cinematic cosmos. We will be talking about many elements of this film, and we'll likely spoil some aspects. Please watch the movie first, then scurry back across the freeway and join our copper-pouring discussion. We're recording this on February 1st, 2025. I'm here with my planet-drilling, time-leaping co-pilot, Colin Dixon, a multimedia editor and an all-around swell guy.
Well, and I'm also here with William Boudel, my spire installing, whatever.
Yeah.
Who is a writer, director,
Stuff.
raconteur, 3-hour tour, all the tours.
We won't get sued for that. This week, our guest is B.C. Jones. B.C. Jones is a filmmaker based in Los Angeles. Born and raised in Kentucky, he gained a passion for cinema at an early age while watching countless films in his father's video store. I'm so jealous. Since moving to Los Angeles, he has worked on projects as a first assistant director, a producer, a video editor, and a post-production supervisor. Holy smokes. In addition to the many hats worn in Hollywood, he has also written and directed numerous award-winning films. Welcome, Brad.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast because I've become an Uber fan. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I host a podcast with two other filmmaker friends, Gray Creasy and Waylon Bacon.
Hang on.
Is there a car?
You know Gray Creasy?
I do.
Gray and I go way back.
Really? Biggest Loser?
Biggest Loser.
Dude, I was going to ask you. I saw that on your IMDb.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm surprised. I have actually not groomed my IMDb
So do
in
you know
about 15
Wells,
years.
too? Wells?
I don't know Wells.
Yeah,
But
he
so,
was also, he worked on that. Aiden worked on that as well.
oh yeah, okay. No,
Yep.
Yes. No, I was good friends with Gray and Mandy and and all the Pasadena folks, and that was
Gray and I lived in Pasadena together for
Oh.
years. So
okay. Well, I have something to show you later, but that's
okay.
that's
All
neither
right.
here nor there.
Incriminating evidence.
Okay, wow.
incoming. Excellent.
Fantastic.
So small world.
Yeah.
LA is sometimes.
It's getting smaller, I think.
A lot of folks are moving. So
Oh yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding.
So you did this podcast. It sort of centers on the fact that you grew up with your dad having a video store. You do themed podcasts about films,
Yes.
mostly of a particular era or ilk, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, well, my dad owned a video store basically from like 1980 to 1992. So
Wow.
most of the films all came out basically before 1992. We do kind of blocks, and they're all themed blocks. They kind of vary. Like they could be the dark side of Disney, where we discuss like the Ron Miller age of the Disney era. You know, films like Return to Oz with Something Wicked This Way Comes and Watcher in the Woods, etc. Or it could be just a weird block about, you know, teen sex comedies that are all named after food items like Meatballs and Hot Dog the Movie and Hamburger the Motion Picture. So, yeah.
Well, if you guys like movies or filmmaking, I highly recommend it. These guys are funny and entertaining, and it's a joy to listen to for somebody like me. So
Oh, thanks.
absolutely. Well, I don't think I need to ask you where your passion for movies began. It sounds like perhaps with your dad.
Oh, so early. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of knew that I wanted to be involved in films from, I think I was about 5 or 6. I remember actually asking my dad because for some reason they just let me watch whatever. And they let me watch Halloween when I was like 6 years old.
Oh, man.
And
I would've been so
I remember,
terrified.
you know, in John Carpenter's movies, John Carpenter's name is always above the title. And I was like, who's that? And my dad was like, well, that's the director. And I was like, oh, well, what does the director do? And he's like, well, he's like the vision behind the film. He's the one that, you know, says yes or no to basically everything. And I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. So I started to make films pretty early on, like 8 or 9 years old, first on Super 8 and then on like VHS.
Yeah.
And I've just been at it since, went to film school and then ended up out here.
Did you keep any of those Super 8s or VHS?
Oh my gosh, my dad recorded over most of them.
Oh,
so
no.
yes, most of the stuff that I made when I was a kid or in high school, like, was accidentally recorded over.
no.
So this is, I learned at a very early age about the importance of redundancy, which I did not know. I didn't know, like, if you just have all your stuff on one VHS tape, it could all be just gone in an instant.
Wow.
And replaced by episodes of Jeopardy.
Oh my gosh,
So-
but you have your Super 8s.
Well, some of them are mostly deteriorated. I had the film itself, some
Okay.
of it, but yeah. But I've
Might
never
wanna get those-
transferred it back.
might
I
wanna get
know.
those
I
transferred.
probably will eventually. but
Digitized.
Yes, for sure.
So cool. Can you talk about your dad's video store a little bit more? Like, did he lean in any particular direction? Was he going for, it sounded like it was quite an eclectic selection, just judging from what you and your guests talk about on the show.
It was pretty massive. No, and he had actually beta and VHS. So, because I think in 1980, I don't even know if VHS was available. So he started with beta because it was like beta's higher quality. But
Right.
of course, VHS, of course, won that war.
Right.
Yeah, he had a huge room with like VHS in the back, and then he had another room in the front that was like beta, which was smaller and stuff, just because less folks had beta.
Yeah.
But he was always kind of loyal to his customers, so anybody that bought like a beta player from him, like early on in the day, he would always kind of continue to, at least get the best and newest titles in beta as well. So yeah, he had everything, and he used to get like giant boxes of movies, like from video stores that would close down, or they'd have big sales and stuff. And he used to just have me go through them and like be like, hey, can you make sure none of these tapes are too messed up that I can't rent them?
So you would screen them.
Yes, I would.
You were the
screen them.
QC.
Yes, I was QC operator.
Wow.
So like, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, I remember one time my mom, like, she left me. I was watching the first Planet of the Apes movie. She went away for like 5 hours to go shopping. She came back. I was on like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. She was like, "You're still watching apes?" I was like, "I am marathoning this." It was just, so yeah, it was great.
What
it was
an
really
education.
Great. Yeah.
When it came to filmmaking, you started making your own videos and movies, etc. What did you enjoy the most? Did you enjoy shooting? Did you like editing? Were you acting at all in these films?
Not really. I think I've always sort of liked conceiving of the films most. That's my favorite part.
Okay.
It was kind of weird. My mom, she got me a book on Alfred Hitchcock.
I was about to say,
about
that's very Hitchcock.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I actually thought, because I read all this stuff and I was like, oh, he draws the storyboards or has the storyboards drawn, and then he works off the storyboards.
Yeah.
And that's how I thought everyone worked. And so that's how I started to work. And then when I get to film school, of course, all the teachers were like, well, you have to shoot coverage. You have to shoot a wide, a medium, a close-up. And I'm like, what? No, I don't. I've already been making movies for years, and I was just too stubborn to do that. So I still work that way.
That's amazing.
I work entirely off storyboards.
Yeah.
I completely shoot for the edit.
I love certain interviews that I've seen with Brian De Palma where the person conducting the interview says, well, when you're doing coverage, and he says, coverage?
Coverage is a dirty word.
Exactly.
Hey, I mean, that's how George Miller works.
Plan your
Kudos.
film. Plan your film and then work your plan.
The opposite of Terrence Malick.
Well, I mean, there's that too, but also he's also not necessarily doing coverage.
Oh no, he's
It's
like, a
unplanned
bird flew
sometimes.
by. Let's shoot that.
Yeah. There's an armadillo crossing the road here. We got to get
There's
this.
some crickets. What about me? I'm an actor and I'm expensive. So.
Sit down, Adrian. We'll get to you. What are you working on lately?
Well, I completed a film about 1.5 years ago called The Red Hourglass. It's a short film. It's a short horror film. It's been on the genre film circuit for like the last year. It's done pretty well. We're continuing to get into film festivals. It premiered at Horror Hound, and then it got into one of the biggest genre fests in the country, which is Nightmares. Played there, and then it's also won an award, Best Horror, at the Oregon Screams Film Festival, and now it's coming up. It's playing in Nevermore. It played in December at Another Hole in the Head. And we've also got our UK premiere coming up at the Romford Horror Film Festival.
Congratulations.
Oh,
what
thank
a
you.
fantastic run.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Do you primarily work in one genre, or do you do different kinds of genres?
Horror is a big passion of mine, and certainly probably the main genre I work and write in. But I'll work in thrillers and sci-fi as well. But yeah, I probably am not. I haven't ventured into drama. And it's funny, I've produced a lot of dramas and stuff with other filmmakers, but it's not really. It's probably not my forte. It's just usually not what I'm thinking about.
Right on.
But yeah, I've written sci-fi, horror, and comedy.
Well, what about Medieval Odysseys?
Medieval Odysseys. I don't know if I'm up for that, but Vincent Ward sure is.
He sure is. So we're talking about The Navigator, a Medieval Odyssey from 1988, directed by Vincent Ward. out of New Zealand. It's a Australian-New Zealand co-production. In fact, it's the first New Zealand-Australian co-production made for about $4.3 Australian million by Home Cinema Group. And this is quite a unique film. And the plot is a small hamlet somewhere in medieval UK is anticipating the coming of the Black Plague. But a boy who seems to be able to see pieces of the future has visions that could guide them away from a sickly, horrible death by boring into the earth and coming out the other side of it to plant a copper crucifix at the top of a cathedral before the sun rises. If you thought that was weird, the boy's fanciful's prescience leads a small group of the town's men straight into the year 1988, where they struggle to understand these new surroundings and its inhabitants while they rush to set the crucifix in its place to save their village.
Wake up, Griffin! Griffin, wake up! Griffin! Wake up! What's wrong, Griffin?
The same. The pit. In my dream, we were tunneling through to the farthest part of the earth.
You're heading the clouds again, Griffin?
Leave him. His signs within dreams. He's been right before. Blight on last year's corn. Vein of copper at pit. Have you forgotten?
Do we make the journey then, Leonard?
Reed, I'm with you then. It's our only chance. Come on. And Griffin comes too.
Totally straightforward.
Yep.
Standard
No questions.
Disney fare, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Although it is like The Wizard of Oz, but medieval.
Right.
So,
It-
sans the Munchkins in the musical.
Right. I mean, I'd like to see more films like this. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brad's right to actually evoke Wizard of Oz. I did kind of get shades of Return to Oz a little bit. But honestly, I can't say I've ever seen anything like it. And maybe precisely because of its notions of time travel. Because essentially this is a movie that's flirting with that. And it's kind of a merging of a bunch of different time travel tropes. And usually you have different approaches to that. You can talk about time travel in terms of like causality, right? Which is like when you move through time to like alter, I don't know, some timeline. Or you have like a logic, like a time travel story about logic, which is more about, the paradoxes that happen with time travel. This is kind of like a merging of all of these different time travel tropes. So it's really interesting from that regard alone. But then tonally, it is all over the place. And I kind of love it for that, actually.
Yeah, and it seems like it's less concerned with the plumbing of time travel than other time travel movies.
Certainly.
What did you think, Brad?
I actually loved it. I will say this to anyone that's not seen the film. If you're big on like plot and character development, this is probably not the movie for you. But if you're big on visuals and tone, this is a fantastic film.
Yeah.
It is beautiful to look at.
It's cinematic.
Yes. Vincent Ward, this is actually, it's interesting. This is the fourth film I've seen of his. The first film I saw of him was Map of the Human Heart. And then I saw Vigil. And then I saw What Dreams May Come in the theater. So I was very familiar with his work. It's interesting, though. I'd never seen this. And it's funny because I'm one of these weird apologists for the movie Alien 3.
I love Alien 3, and I can't wait to talk about this with you.
So Vincent Ward, for those who do not know, was going to direct Alien 3. He was actually, they were really interested in, David Giler was really interested in Vincent Ward based on this film and Vigil. So Vigil, interestingly, it's a very low budget film. He did that before this film. And it was, I believe, the first New Zealand film ever accepted into competition at the Cannes Film Festival. So he kind of came into the world in a pretty big way.
Yeah.
And it's visually spectacular. It's gorgeous to look at. Once again, it's less plot heavy. It's more about mood and visuals and aesthetics. But he was going to make Alien 3. And he really he only took a plane ride so he could get a free trip to LA because they kept bothering about this. He had no interest in doing this. And on the way to LA from New Zealand, he scribbled down an idea. And the idea was that Ripley would crash land on a planet that was made of wood.
Yep.
That was under the control of monks. And it was like medieval times on this planet. Huh. And she had to kind of deal with that. And there was also an alien there. And that was well underway.
And
actually.
it's kind of Navigator meets Alien.
Yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
He's obsessed with medieval like imagery.
Yeah, and having ancient worlds collide with futuristic
Yes.
or at least contemporary
Yeah.
worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to make this, and they got very far along in the process, and then they started to ask questions. They're like, why is the planet made of wood?
Yeah.
You know, like, why is this like monks? Why is this like medieval?
Right.
But it's an outer space sci-fi movie. He didn't actually have any good answers, and then he finally, it was kind of a creative differences thing. But the interesting thing was they had a pay or play deal. And they were so far along into this, they were already building sets.
Yep.
And they had to pay him for his directing duties.
I
So
didn't
he
know
took
that.
that money.
The full fee?
I believe so.
Holy
yeah.
smokes.
This is why Alien 3 cost so much.
Wow.
He took that money and then invested it into the Passion Project Map of the Human Heart.
Okay.
Because he could not get financing for that truly unique film.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so he's a very interesting filmmaker. He has not made a ton of films. I've only seen the 4 of them now. But I don't know. I think this might be my favorite one of his. It seems like the most Vincent Ward movie ever. It's like I was absolutely just, and I'm like, I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, did any of this actually happen, or
Right.
was this all the imagination of a boy dying from the plague before he expires? Is this what he imagined?
Right.
You know, like he imagined this other world. He imagined going there with his, compatriots and all the other villagers and whatnot. And
Right. Well, and also what constitutes happening, because when he has these dreams or visions, or as he calls them, memories,
Yeah.
which I love,
Yeah.
because then it totally confuses, like,
Yeah.
what's future, what's present,
Yeah.
what's past.
Yeah.
He imagines, let's say, a world that does exist. It is 1988 at that time. You know, that's when the film came out, and that is what he is seeing. And so even if he just imagined it,
Yeah.
he's imagining
still prescient.
accurately.
Yes, he is.
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Well, although cleverly, we don't actually hear the words that he's saying to his compatriots down in that cave. We don't actually hear the story that he's telling them. You know,
we see the story.
we see it,
We see it,
but we
yes.
don't hear him say the words "bus" or jackhammer or
Yes.
whatever they encounter in 1980s.
Mechanical monsters.
Right.
Yes.
So as far as we know, he's not actually calling the shots. You know, he might. You know, this could just be Vincent Ward
Yeah.
putting
Playing
his
a trick
vision
on us all.
Yeah, of whatever his future is.
Yeah.
And
The way I interpret it is that what we see is what he's describing. Even if he doesn't describe it in the same terms, obviously he wouldn't.
Sure.
He's not from that time. And in that way, it kind of is a funny mind twister of what is reality, what is a dream, and what constitutes what, and what is important. And also, obviously, the whole connection with them setting the cross and the boy getting the plague, and how we'll talk more about that. By the way, we don't have to talk about the plot in any order. We can talk about any point at any time. So feel free to jump in, non-linearly, Brad, as you see fit. So this film that is made, I also want to talk a little bit about Alien 3, because I've seen Charles de Lauzirika's Alien documentary about Alien 3 so many times, because I'm fascinated with Fincher. I'm fascinated with Vincent Ward. Also Rennie Harlan and David Toohey were also contributors.
William Gibson.
I think one of
Wrote
the
a
greatest,
script.
like the greatest Hollywood sci-fi art project would
Yes.
be for somebody to make all of these movies. To
Right.
just
Yeah.
give David Toohey this, give
yeah,
Rennie
let's
Harlan.
do the Alien on Earth with Rennie
Yeah.
Harlan. And, yeah.
I mean, after seeing this, and this is my first Vincent Ward film, I want to see his Alien 3. I want
Yeah.
to see, this probably less plot driven, less character developed version of Alien where they're on a wooden planet.
Yeah.
I mean, there are shots in this film that I thought, that's Alien 3. Like
Yeah.
literally guys in giant gray robes holding torches. I'm like, that's Alien 3.
Yeah.
Like that is so many of the visuals reminded me that I wondered if Fincher actually watched this film when he found out that he was taking over it from this director.
Well, he had all of the storyboards and production design and all of this stuff. And like I said, a lot of the DNA of the script that Vincent Ward
Yeah.
had helped put together is still in
Absolutely.
like Alien 3.
Instead of monks, they're
Yeah,
prisoners.
they're prisoners.
They
Yes,
have the shaved
exactly.
heads.
Yes.
There's the
Uh-huh.
space lice or
Yes.
whatever that they
Yeah.
have to deal with.
right.
Yeah.
And they're running around in garments that resemble robes, and they're mostly, well, they're all men except for her. So
Yeah, Vincent Ward really likes the plague cap.
Yeah.
And he utilizes that in Alien 3 throughout.
yeah, it would have been a fascinating watch, and who knows, maybe somebody will animate it or something someday. That would be a lot of fun. But that's a lot. If you guys haven't checked out the Alien 3 documentary by Charles de Lauzirika that was released on, I think it was called the Alien Quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Check it out. All of those docs are great. Charles, full disclosure, is a guy I know a little bit, and very nice guy and a very talented documentarian.
We both know Charles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Boom. Making all kinds of connections here today. Let's get into some of the actors that we see on screen here. We have, the Bruce Lyons that plays Connor. I think he's quite good, and does a nice job of sort of being hero-ish, but yet not sort of two-dimensional. Definitely at the end, we find out that he brought the plague to the town. And so
Devastating twist.
Yeah, devastating. Exactly. Which was completely unexpected by me.
Yeah, I didn't actually see that coming.
I don't think anybody would.
Is powerful.
And then, probably the real star of the movie is Hamish McFarlane as Griffin, the little boy.
But the Griffin, you'd fall straight through to the other side of the earth after just 2 days digging into the sky. Or you'd have to cling like a tick.
'Twas further than we'd thought. 3 times the length of your rope, Arno. No, all of 6 times that length before we struck the last hard rock between us, the far side of the world.
Incredible. Aside from a few too many close-ups of him having visions / memories / dreams at the beginning when you see the torch being thrown down in the pit, I was like, why do they keep showing this boy? Are they going to keep cutting back? It goes back and forth, I don't know, a good 3, 4, 5 times.
Yes.
I'm like, holy smokes. But I mean, he does have great eyes, very expressive face, and he is the one telling this story. And we soon learn why the director is focusing so much on him.
That opening sequence, I love.
Okay.
It is like, it's like got like sort of like glimmers of like Tarkovsky's like Andrei Rublev, but mixed in with like the color footage. It's interesting how Vincent Ward played with this, because everything in the 14th century is black and white,
right?
Hence why we're mentioning the Wizard of Oz. And then of course, as they're tunneling, it turns color and stuff. Once they start to make their descent into the earth, that's when it starts to turn color. And of course, everything in modern day or contemporary New Zealand is entirely in color. And I think it's the photography in this film is absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, it's beautifully shot. Jeffrey Simpson is the guy. I'm not familiar with his work, but I think he did a wonderful job both in black and white. And for me, I don't know why, particularly the color photography I loved.
Yes.
I don't know. I think maybe it might be the contrast of going from black and white to this kind of lush blues and reds and the orange of the flames when he's on when one of the characters is on the highway running from diesel trucks and stuff. It blew me away. I loved it.
And that's that hard cut back to the black and white world, and the contrast between that and like the sun coming up, at the end of this film, when he's finally setting the spire, is just such a gut punch. That stuff really is very effective.
Yeah, I thought all of the set pieces worked in this film. Honestly, it's honestly a fairly simple movie.
It is.
Honestly,
yeah.
When you break it down, although the way it's edited, the way it's put together, it just has a lot more layers going on underneath it. But there are just dynamite sequences in this, from like them going across the water with a horse,
yes,
or crossing the road when all these cars are about to hit them, and like one of them ends up tunneling,
right?
Which is, one of the few bits of comic relief in the film. In a way. It's which is interesting too, because like a lot of those fish out of water movies often do that. And I actually used to get this movie mixed up. There's a French film that came out many years later called The Visitors.
Oh yeah,
and yes, with Jean Reno, and like it's very similar. It's like medieval, but it's like a wizard brings them into modern times.
Okay,
and stuff. This medieval like group of knights. But I was like, at first when you mentioned this, I was like, "Is that? Oh no, it's this one. It's the Vincent Ward film I haven't seen."
Right.
But yeah, I really love like I said, the visuals are so good. My favorite is actually when he finds the TVs and their reaction to the televisions.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, he starts smashing
What
the
is
windows.
yeah? What does Searle say? He says something about like, I don't know, bewitching.
Yeah.
He says
like,
it's
there's
the devils are in the window.
The devils are in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just start smashing through.
He's not
and
wrong.
like, because but the way those televisions are shot, because
Yeah.
it's like, it's really told from their perspective.
Right.
And that's what makes it so effective, because you've got to imagine, like, what would someone in the 14th, how would they see this? What would this look like to them? To us, we take it for granted. We've been into so many Best Buys and,
Sure.
where there's walls of TVs.
It's just Tuesday. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But to them, it's like, he gives it this mystical quality. It's this otherworldly quality, the way it's captured. It's absolutely
Well, and
gorgeous.
he also just happens to have stumbled upon the most like existential dread documentary that has ever produced. It's like some like civilization, like some documentary about civilization crumbling or something like that.
Yeah, little subtext being thrown in there and stuff.
Well, and also that's what's
parallel with the Black Death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's happening in their time.
Yeah.
And again, it's the contrast. I think that's maybe some of the most, what's brilliant about the film is the visual contrast, but also the contrast of he really sets you in that medieval time firmly.
Yeah.
It's like 20 minutes or so that you're in this black and white, and it's literally people in these like blood covered, robes talking to each other. I mean, it looks like day-to-day life is just a struggle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everything is a struggle. Feeding yourself, not getting sick, it's wet. It's muddy.
You don't even really see a village either. It's just like they're on a mountain.
It's
and
the
like a
smallest.
kid is going to work in a mine.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's a tiny community.
It's a hamlet.
That's
Or
so isolated.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's the big deal about Connor. He's been gone all this time. He's been gone for like months.
Connor's
I think like 8 months.
I think he's gone on like a scout of
Yeah.
the Black Plague, essentially, like to
Yeah.
figure out what's going, because they don't have, the internet. They need to find out what's going on out
Right,
there.
yeah.
So they send Connor out there.
Yeah, and I think they were expecting him to come back much sooner. Of course, we find out later that he had indeed contracted the plague.
Yeah,
He's
and
recovering.
I think they say 90 days, which was which actually led to a strange, like one moment that I was actually kind of taken out of the film is actually Searle. So Connor comes back.
Yeah.
And obviously Griffin is very excited to see him.
Right.
And Searle has this line where he says, "You'd think they were married." And it's like, he's been gone for like 6 months, man.
Yeah.
Give him a break.
Well, they're not, Connor and Griffin aren't father and son, right?
No,
But
they're brothers,
they're
right?
brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually was unclear on that for
I
a while.
was too, actually. I didn't know if he was just like someone he looked up to and was really close
That's
to in
what
the
I thought.
village. And I was never actually 100% on that.
I wasn't 100%. Toward the end, I think somebody says brother.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
But it's like once,
Yeah.
at least that I remember in
Yeah.
the film. So, some of the other people in the film, we've mentioned Searle, that he's played by Marshall Napier. I really liked that character. I thought he had a great face. He kind of, he bore the responsibility of somebody who's had a lot of hardships in life, and he's kind of a bit bitter about it. And he's also, we don't know if he's going to go sideways on Griffin, because it seems like he resents Griffin's visions. Griffin keeps telling him, what's going to happen. And then at key moments, he can't tell him anything. He doesn't remember, or he doesn't know. He can't see what to do when they're in 1988. And Searle keeps asking him, which way do we go? Where's the cathedral? What dangers are going to befall us? All these, and repeatedly Griffin isn't sure until he knows. And then he remembers, or he has a vision and he thinks about something. It's a great relationship. And Searle does a great job of playing that relationship with Griffin, and also with the Ulf character, who is his brother, played by Noah Appleby, who apparently, supposedly hadn't acted a lot, but actually had been in 2 films, I think, and Vincent Ward found him, and I guess he was working in like a sewer or something like that.
Really?
He had some
Wow.
city job, and he was a very shy man, and he just thought, this guy doesn't have acting experience, but he is the character, and I will navigate him through it. And he did. Ulf is like such an endearing, fun character in the movie. He's one of my favorites. I
And
think
is he in Lord of the Rings? Is
He
He's
is.
in 2 Lord of the Rings
Yes,
movies.
He's like proud foot. Yeah, no, it's like proud feet. I think that's the character. He
Wow.
plays in that. Yeah.
And so Ulf is this guy who's bigger and has a Madonna statue carved out of wood that
That's
he
right.
wants to take with him everywhere and eventually set in the cathedral that they find.
Not the singer Madonna, folks.
Right, true.
Well, because life has absolutely just taken a massive dump on both Cyril and Ulf, is it?
Yeah.
And because they are brothers, right?
They are. In the movie, yeah.
So, and at some point, Cyril goes down this litany of people in their lives that they've lost, and you go, Jesus Christ,
my wife, this, that, Cyril's just like, holy smokes.
Well, actually, I wanted to go back to, so you were talking about the village and how they just firmly kind of ensconce you in this setting. And they actually are able to explain away the reasoning pretty well. I mean, I thought it was like a brilliant little bit of writing that covers up for what might be kind of a lack of a budget, where they just explain that, hey, we are now kind of a satellite village because of the plague. And I think that's like such an eloquent way of writing around that setting. But it is also a very believable setting. I mean, like the whole thing feels very lived in and,
Yeah. And at the same time, very picturesque. I mean, obviously, Vincent Ward is planning a lot of whatever he does around the visuals.
Yeah.
He's an extremely visual director.
And he loves mountains. They are like a feature of all of his films.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, if you see Vigil, which is all shot in New Zealand, and I mean, which it's interesting, Vigil, when I saw it, I was like, I'd never seen New Zealand before that. And I was like, whoa, what is this place?
Yeah.
I mean, just lush, giant green mountains as far as the eye could see.
So you must have seen Vigil before Lord of the Rings.
Yes. I think I saw Vigil in high school, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I'd seen Map of the Human Heart, and I was like, I was really into it.
But isn't Vigil is it a tiny movie?
It is a tiny movie. It's gorgeous, though.
Yeah.
It's
Did your dad have those movies in his store?
He had Map of the Human Heart,
Wow.
which was one of the last movies I think he had in his store. That was towards the end. But Vigil, I remember getting at another video store.
Okay.
Like some other, some other mom and pop place.
At the small town where I grew up in, I think the movies we had were like either Charles Bronson or Chuck Norris. I mean,
Yeah.
We had plenty of that too.
Well, you got to have those.
Yeah.
There's Chris Haywood as Arno. I already mentioned Noel Appleby as Ulf. Yeah, I think that there's just a wonderful group of these men that go on this mission together. First to bore through the earth, which I loved the scenes when they're using that battering ram, like a wooden,
smashing through it.
Smashing. And what doesn't make any sense at all is that Connor and Griffin are at the front, right, where the rocks are like flying off the wall.
Right.
Like nobody would be standing 2 feet from the wall that they're smashing.
Yeah.
Especially with a small child, but
well, it's all his idea.
it looked good.
So.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
It looked good on
You
film.
got us into this. You're in the front of the battering ram.
But it's amazing that the way they bash through is they bash through a sewer. They come,
Yes.
they eventually bash into a sewer, and they start talking about aqueducts and how this must be a giant city. It has such nice sewers.
Yeah.
And then they make their way up to a freeway, essentially.
Yeah.
What happens?
This is where Noel Appleby really gets to shine, because he's actually doing like a really engaged bit of like physical acting in this, and he's doing it pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want him to get hurt. And he's the first one who kind of accidentally finds himself in the middle of the freeway, and he's marveling at all the cars and trucks coming at him because he doesn't understand what they are. And by now the film has turned into color. So we're also sort of marveling at the color with him. And he has this torch, and he starts, they start honking at him, and he starts running away from them. It's a great shot of this guy dressed in medieval garb with a torch, and he's running away from semi-trucks. And it's just, it's so good.
Well, and it falls in line with this thing that the movie's doing really well, which is like kind of interjecting that crepuscular nature of technology into the, or kind of every machine is kind of an analog for some kind of a beast. And this movie has this really interesting way of employing sound effects in that regard, where, the machines scream and roar, and it's not just the machines, but even anything that is technologically advanced has this kind of effervescence or this kind of alien sound effect. Sound designed around it, and that scene stands out as well, because you don't really ever see anybody in the cars. You see these cars that are kind of hounding down on them, but you never actually see any human faces.
You're right.
We really
I never
stay
thought
in their
about that.
POV in that situation, especially like when he's just walking, when he's just like watching the car come towards him. It's just, it looks angelic to him. And, and you mentioned the otherworldly sound. That's all in service of just staying in their perspective.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely enchanting. It's really, that sequence is really well done.
It is. And they spend a good, 15 minutes maybe with that freeway sequence.
I know, but it doesn't get boring. It doesn't seem too long. That's the interesting thing about this movie. This movie actually flows quite well.
It does.
I mean, it could have very easily, when you have like period speak and you're mixing like, you're in medieval times and then like fish out of water, 1988 New Zealand.
Right.
You could have outstayed your welcome, but it really does move from one set piece to another. And it kind of breezes by.
It does. And it just gives you just enough to kind of understand what's happening and why they're doing things and who the people are, so that your mind wanders and sort of thinks about all the surrounding implications of what's happening. So this freeway sequence is kind of central to the conceit of this narrative. Does anybody know when or how Vincent Ward came up with this idea? So what I heard or read or saw was that he was in Germany and he was backpacking. He had this giant backpack and he's at some freeway and he's trying to cross. And for some reason in that moment, he thought, what if I were from medieval times?
Right. What would this look like?
What would this be like? Yeah. To try to cross this modern craziness. And that is where the film started.
Oh, interesting. This is the seed of the film.
This is the seed of the film.
Oh, wow.
Of the whole film.
Very cool.
Just the collision of medieval times and contemporary, at the time, 1988, modern day life.
Don't go anywhere!
Well, so did anybody else kind of get like a Koyaanisqatsi vibe from this movie a little bit?
A bit, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Sans the Philip Glass music.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a montage of...
Just as, modern civilization kind of unfolding in very alien ways and kind of these montages of, these big kind of industrial settings that are foreign looking through Godfrey Reggio's eyes in that case, but, in Ward's eyes in this case. I don't know. I got kind of shades of that. Yes, sans the Philip Glass. Although, actually, there is like a lot of kind of Gregorian chanting going on for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And actually, one of the...
I love the music.
I do too.
Which I was not familiar with this composer at all, but the music is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really evokes a lot, although there is one very on the nose musical cue.
Which one?
I'm talking about Connor.
Oh.
Connor. It was, at that moment I was a little bit worried about what we were in for, but luckily he avails himself nicely after that moment.
So apparently the film's music is a mixture of Scottish military music, there's Gregorian chants, there's Celtic music, and something that I didn't hear at all is apparently 19th century mining music. I'm not sure where mining, like if they mean like in the UK or...
Mining music.
Mining, like as in, I guess there were songs.
Music sung in mines.
Right.
Working.
The only mining music I know is like from Matewan, like that kind of West
Snow
Virginia.
White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, there's that. There you go. There you go. And it says with influences from the Middle East. So, yeah, it really interesting. Composed by Davoud Tabrizi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who I also am not familiar with. But
what a great name.
It is a cool name.
The music is awesome. The visuals are incredible. But let's talk a little bit about, I would love to talk about the church sequence, because it's an interesting device that he's using, because it really gives us this like goal to get to with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're all heading to this church. We've seen the church through the visions. They're out trying to find it. At one point, Connor is stuck on the front of a train, which that's a crazy sequence unto itself, which I was actually pretty impressed with a lot of the compositing, I guess, or maybe it's rear projection. I'm not really sure, but it's actually pretty effective how it's done.
Right.
But the sequence at the church, the sort of finale and stuff, if you will, the big sort of showdown there where they're trying to get that cross up on top of the spire. It's a really dynamite sequence. And it's interesting too, because like you've seen all these glimpses of it, and by using that device, it makes it so much more intense in a way. Like you know someone's gonna fall off.
Right.
There's the black glove, and then when he hands him the black glove and he's on the gauntlet on the ladder, and you're just like, you're like, oh no, it's gonna be him now. You know, and it adds a whole other layer to the suspense. But when the sun starts rising, it's so beautiful.
It is.
It is just such a beautiful sequence and stuff. But and then I had a different thought about it once you're all said and done, when you find out, you know, Connor has the plague and that he's died, or excuse me, not Connor, that Griffin has contracted the plague and he's dead.
From Connor, yeah.
Yeah, from Connor. And that is like, you know, that whole sequence has a whole other layer. It's almost like, is he envisioning this? Is this like thinking about getting into heaven, that kind of thing?
Right.
Like, you know,
Well, and the parallels between Griffin falling from the spire and him contracting the Black Plague, which tragically, you know, he's the only person who dies from the Black Plague in the movie. Like we see his coffin,
that we know of. Yeah.
That we know of. I mean, nobody else apparently is going to get the Black Plague. In other words, Griffin has saved the village by having this dream or this vision or done this, you know, time traveling, whatever it is, however you interpret it. He is the one who is going to die and save the rest of the village, which is interesting. That, you know, you don't see that a lot.
But you know, it's the same cross is on his coffin as it's descending into the water, because you kept seeing the cross in the water, interspersed in these visions, and you're like, well, what is that? You know, is what's going to happen with that? Is that from a puddle in the water, like just a shot you'll see, and then it had a whole other meaning by the end of it. But.
Well, so Brad, you mentioned that church sequence. Do you see that as all being a function of the editing, or do you feel like they laid that all out in storyboard? Because it just seems like it's, you know, as you mentioned, there are just so many elements sprinkled throughout the rest of the film, and it just comes together in this perfect way. And you're right about the way that it ratchets that tension. So I personally can't conceive of how they conceived of it, I suppose.
I think he conceived of a lot of it, but he might have also ran into the happy accidents and stuff and like found that footage. I don't know his full process, obviously, but it does seem so intentional the way those shots are layered and laid on top. So I would say, just from my gut, it seems so well conceived.
Right.
You know,
like maybe the general idea is conceived, and then the execution could be more like
they may have found
through.
Discovery during which we often do in the production, and then we get it to post and we're this would really work, and this would add this whole other layer.
Put a shot of the coffin here at the beginning. It'll reverberate.
That's kind of why I asked, because we've got 3 editors here, and you know, on this show we're always talking about how really like the editor's done their job when their job is invisible, and yet, you know, the editing does stand out here. I feel like watching them put this puzzle together is part of where the reward comes from this film. And I don't know. So that stood out to me. I guess we should give John Scott, the editor, a bit of some kudos.
Big kudos. Big time. It's very well paced and put together, and just, all the pieces really flow. So, and it's unique too. It's got the non-linear is tough, and it does really have that kind of non-linear timeline, and a lot of it is it's told through visions, and then sometimes you're even confused as like, which timeline are we in, and like which reality are we in, and then by the end of it you're not even sure what all actually truly was true or what was in his mind.
Right.
Well, and the way that they throw us into his dream essentially is so organic, because you don't realize it's his dream obviously until the end, but they do it by dint of their color scheme. and ultimately, I've just never seen any film do anything like that. Yeah, sure, there's Wizard of Oz, but it serves a different function there.
It does.
And it's so organic the way they do it. So, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You know, among the many wonderful images, one of the images that I immediately fell in love with was the torch going down into the pit.
Oh, yeah.
And just falling.
Yeah, they show that over and over again.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful image. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Them
it's,
on the sides going down the cliff too as the torch. I was like, wow. And some of those optical effects they did, where they're tunneling into the mountain.
Yeah.
And then they
Those
pull
are
back.
so cool. Yeah, like pull way back and you see the whole
It looks
mountain.
so good.
It does. It's incredible.
I'm actually
This
wondering
is-
how they did that at that time.
I mean, they obviously shot the set part where they're like drilling into the
but
mountain.
then the pullback, is it animation? What is that?
I think it's an optical.
Yeah.
But is it like they shot a matte painting and then they pulled back from the matte painting?
Yeah.
Or did they animate it so that...
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably done with like motion control, most likely. So,
Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that would be my guess at
Yeah.
that time period.
It just looks seamless. I mean, it's
So
amazing.
good. Yeah.
For
'Cause
not a big
it's
budget.
almost like somewhat of an in-camera thing. Like
Yeah.
you've got this little chunk, and
Yeah.
then you build the rest of it out.
Right.
You build the mountain around them. So
It's fantastic.
yeah.
Well, they also have these really interesting practical effects, and you alluded to how that introduction kind of just sucks you in, and there's these shots of the moon, and they're also doing a clever bit of sound effect or a sound design in that sequence as well, because there's this kind of a constricting I don't know, it sounds like somebody's like with leather gloves is like squeezing their hands together as you see these clouds come over the moon.
Oh,
that's
or the angel of death.
Yeah.
fly across
Oh my gosh,
moon.
the
That
angel
was
of death.
So cool.
Fantastic.
So cool. That really made me think of, I don't know if you all have seen Eggers' The Northman.
Yes.
But that really similar concept, like, because that movie is told from a Viking's point of view. Like, everything in it is like from his point of view in such a heightened, weird, like Valkyrie, way,
right.
Viking way. And I immediately thought of that movie in this. I was like, wow, this is doing something that Eggers is going to do, which I thought was pretty audacious, actually.
Yeah.
To tell a period piece in that manner.
From the person
From
in the period.
perspective of like what a Viking believes,
Right, right.
And yet he's doing it here.
Right.
That is exactly what Vincent Ward is doing back in, the mid 80s.
Well, going back to that angel of death image, that is actually like pulled out of a lot of you see these woodcuts from the time, and they do have this vision of the angel of death being this really slender character with these flowing like kind of drapery, I guess, behind it, and this trumpet.
Yep.
And I thought that was so cool that they actually harkened back to that.
Absolutely. I thought I read that it was from the painting, but maybe is it a wood carving?
I feel like you see it in different. Like I feel like you see it in
different
Bosch.
medieval illuminations
exactly.
and
Got
stuff
it.
of the period.
Got
Yeah.
Beautiful image. I don't know how they did that either. I don't know if it was a puppet or
I think it was some kind of animation. It did kind of look like a puppet.
It looked like a
they-
skeleton
Yeah,
puppet,
a skeleton
and then maybe
puppet, and then the moon might have been
right,
just
and then it had
a
wings,
painting
right,
or something. Yeah.
and it kind of looks at them as it flies by.
Yeah, it almost has, what is that, Pepper's Ghost? It has that kind of quality where they shoot through the mirror.
Oh,
and,
cool. What's Pepper's Ghost?
It's like the effects like you see in like the Haunted Mansion and stuff.
Okay.
With like it's basically like you have like a mirror, and then you're shooting through like the mirror and a glass, and you get a reflection. You get a transparent reflection. It's how they did all these ghost effects in like the old like Metropolis and all these old expressionist films. But this is an ancient like technique. Magicians had been using it already, and then so like Pepper's Ghost, it had that kind of quality to it, which I really like. I always love in camera effects. So,
I do too.
I'm a sucker for
It almost, there were times when I was reminded of Raimi for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
exactly.
that
Some of the-
Angel of Death is very
the
Raimi-esque,
Angel of
the way
Death-
it turns, and it's like it's got the
the mechanical battering ram and
Yeah.
the way it was shot. Just certain things.
It's
just
an Army of
reminded me
Darkness.
Just very
points. I was
It reminded me of Raimi.
Wait, Bruce Campbell, let me in there.
Yeah. Groovy.
Yeah.
Groovy.
So this is written by Jeff Chappell, Kelly Lyons, and Vincent Ward. Kelly Lyons is Bruce Lyons' husband. Bruce Lyons is the guy who plays Connor.
Yeah, I was thinking, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I had IMDb, I had to pause it IMDb. I was like, okay, who's this guy? He looks familiar.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
He kinda
just
has
one of those faces.
Yeah, he has kind of a handsome, but not distractingly handsome,
Yeah.
and everyman kind of quality to him.
Yeah.
And he's, it's nice to see him smile and be happy
Yeah.
on screen. And then at
And-
the end, when he gives that, as you said, the horrific reveal, you used some other word. What was it? Tragic whatever,
Gut-wrenching.
that reveal that just kind of turns the movie on its head. You realize, oh my God, he brought the plague back, and he allowed other people to get sick, and he actually winds up killing Griffin,
Yeah.
the kid he cared about.
Yeah.
Well, can you guys talk about that? Because that actually is one moment where I was a little bit confused, because it seems like he's now immune to the plague. He says that he's got scars and that's all.
That when they went down in the tunnel and Griffin told the story, for some reason his black plague was cured. Like his illness was the death, as they say.
I think he had
was
survived
cured.
the plague.
Yeah, that's what
But
I got. That's the impression I got.
But I don't know enough about the bubonic plague to say, are you still contagious? Like,
But
how does that work?
I thought the curing happened like during the story. Like I thought that he said something about it. Like
he does talk about trying to keep his distance from everybody.
Exactly.
But he also then at the end shows the scar and he says,
It's a
I got
scar.
the impression that he had survived the plague and that he wasn't contagious. So I was just wondering, like, when is the moment? Maybe we just don't know, but I was struggling to try and figure out the moment that Griffin actually gets infected. And then around the time that he's telling that story, we see them cut back to when he first sees him again for the first time in a long time. And he kind of is holding him up by his armpits. And I thought, especially because of the connection with the boils under the armpits, which, by the way, when they do that reveal, they have this sound effect of like a searing sound when he touches them. It's kind of like a 127 hours moment when he cuts like the nerve or whatever. But there's just this sound of like steam or something when he touches it, and it was such a brilliant little
touch
detail that they added in there.
Good sound design.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me, and I could have read it wrong, but that he has the plague when he comes back. It's not gone yet. It is not.
And he's talking to his pregnant wife, and
he's talking to his pregnant wife, and
brother,
he's trying to keep his distance from the people in the cave, but he obviously transfers it to Griffin. And what happens? What is the parallel? He gives the gauntlet to Griffin when Griffin's hand is hurt, so he can keep climbing up the ladder to set the cross and the spire.
Well,
so that is the transfer of the bubonic plague.
Oh,
that
wow.
is the transfer of the death.
Good catch. Well,
And that's why they keep showing the gauntlet flying through the air.
Wow,
the black gauntlet.
That's the plague.
That is the plague.
That's the symbol of the plague. Interesting. I hadn't even thought about it like that. Wow. Huh.
Well, and also, hey, it might explain why he was up front in front of the the boring device.
Yeah. Although he should have said, "Hey, kid, why don't you go to the back?
Yeah.
You don't need to have your face 2 inches from the rock." From the
rocks.
It's just
into
flying
your
at them. Like, who would do that?
Who needs to be in the front of that thing? Everyone go to the back.
Yeah.
So
These are rocks.
these are
they
rocks
hurt.
and scatter.
Yeah.
And I like how they're just handing them back one at a time. Like,
Yeah.
Like, this is how we're going to get through.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have taken, we must have caught them when they were like, I don't know, a good 3 years into boring through that. Because I mean, they're so far down in that pit.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is some slow moving, but it works.
Well, it's in, obviously, I guess maybe there are little clues to this being a dream, because like that's kind of like speaks to their weird cosmology of how their universe works. I mean, at one point, is it Arno who's playing like the priest kind of character?
Is he the one with the funny hair?
Well, no.
The guy with the he
guy
has
that
the leather.
he hangs back with the coppersmiths.
Yes.
That character at some point talks about how, I guess he talks about like the world being flat,
Okay.
and that's how they're literally able to just bore through the other side.
Yep.
So I mean, I guess you could maybe say, and they talk about how the drilling took a little bit longer, but actually, it felt very Terry Gilliam-esque to me at that point.
It does have a Gilliam quality to it.
I think Vincent Ward is like the child of Ingmar Bergman and Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like,
interesting.
yeah, there's like
Why
a-
Ingmar Bergman?
Because there's like a weird kind of like serious nature to Vincent Ward as opposed to like Gilliam, who's usually he's playing a
Playful.
lot for more laughs. I mean, he has drama as well, but like he's more it's more about humor with him.
Yeah.
But like Vincent Ward, I feel like he's going for something a lot more deeper and stuff, like Bergman would.
Okay.
Be. So, and a lot of I also could not stop but think about the Seventh Seal watching this as well.
Okay.
Also another film dealing with the plague and and death and all that kind of stuff. So
I wonder, is that a priest? Because he has the kind of almost what is that pilot leather thing that he wears on his head?
I think
the
that
guy
he
you're
is,
talking
because
about?
he's leading all the prayers, and
Right.
I think that actually when they are back in their medieval setting, he is doing some kind of a priestly incantation at some point, if I'm not mistaken.
Great cast. Let's also talk about the scene. You already talked about this a little bit, Brad, but the horse in the dinghy, and they're crossing this water, and what happens?
Submarine.
that is the one thing that I'm
the
not
odds
sure
of a submarine
Yeah.
coming up?
Yeah.
What? It's so random.
Why does it happen?
Yeah.
What is a submarine, probably nuclear, doing there?
Right.
And why does it come up and why does it come up and why does it then submerge after they've been banging on it with rocks?
I think you just hit the nail on the head with the word nuclear. I think that maybe, and this is just a pet theory, but maybe
I think
Ward is trying to draw some correlation between the specter of nuclear annihilation and the Black Plague.
Yeah.
Right.
We're still in the throes of the Cold War at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the one clunky moment for me. Is that submarine. It was a little forced. It was like everything else and I know there's a bunch of unbelievable, fantastical things happen, but the fact that a submarine comes up and then goes back down while now maybe that's also supposed to tell us this is a dream.
Yeah.
This is a dream. Yeah. Definitely a dream.
Yeah.
Well, and also because again, this is another one of those moments where they go to great length to force the perspective of this being some big creature. And that, it surfaces and has this guttural wailing sound.
Oh, I'm for all of that. Yeah, that all works for me. But it's just the actual fact that it comes up, they throw rocks at it, and it just goes back down like nothing happened. No loudspeaker comes on and says, "Hey, get out of the wharf" or whatever. Like, it's like, and why is that? Why would that submarine be there anyway in the first place?
Honestly, this seems like a feature of Vincent Ward's filmography to me. Like, I mean, why do they make love on top of a Zeppelin in like Map of the Human Heart? Like, it's like he does a lot of this. There's like in Vigil, this is
his thing. Yeah,
there's like this incredible mechanical owl, and it plays like no function in the movie. It's just like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, and I kept waiting for it. I was like, when are they going to fly that owl? Or is it going to save it for the end? No. It's this cool looking thing.
Right.
And it's amazing. It looks kind of medieval and steampunky in a way. And then it's just there. I don't know.
Is it real? Of course not.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Interesting.
Yeah,
So
maybe there just wasn't an easy enough way to integrate that into the story and also keep this moving and flowing as well as it does.
Right.
I just, maybe they had some grandiose explanation for that had to go out, that had to hit the cutting room floor. I don't know.
Maybe there might have been an additional piece of subtext, like you'd mentioned about like nuclear war.
No, I absolutely think that Colin's probably right about that. Yeah.
But it stuck out to me too. That being said, I still think it's a great set piece.
It is interesting.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It does kind of help keep you in the fantastic visuals of this horse on a boat.
Yes.
With all the lights on the water and
surreal.
Stuff. Yeah, very, very cool stuff.
Yeah. Even in the present, he's colliding the past with the present, with the horse on the boat, and yet they're in a modern city. It's all kind of a weird...
So like a giant monster, like a sea monster, Yeah. I was also, for some reason, thinking of the parallels to the scene of when the people are coming over on the boat when they're in their village, and the other village comes over
with the poles.
Which I thought that was amazing.
That is pretty
and they're
cool.
like pushing them away, like get away.
Right.
And I couldn't help but think like a parallel between those two, like the
good
submarine
point. I didn't think of that.
And that boat. With the
I didn't
horse
think
on
of
it
that.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
The same thing is happening to them.
Yeah.
Well, and there is also just this movie is so replete with contrast, which is great, and it just the image of this kind of, and they even managed to find like a kind of an old-fashioned boat. It's not like a motorboat that they're using, and they've got this horse on it, and then you contrast that with this nuclear sub. I just think that Ward seems to really like to play with that stuff.
Absolutely, he's absolutely using contrast there. The collision,
right? So that scene works for me, but I will concede that I guess if we were just analyzing the metaphor, it is kind of a heavy-handed metaphor for sure.
It feels a bit heavy-handed at that moment because it kind of, everything has been so, I don't know how exactly he's done it, but even though what's fantastical is happening and it is so fantastical, I'm along with it. I'm going with it.
Yeah.
It's all fine, and it all somehow makes sense in the world that the movie has created. It's just the submarine scene. I think because it surfaces, doesn't do anything, and then goes back down. Maybe if they had done something, or I don't know, something had happened, then it would have made more sense to my brain.
Right. This is a movie that's like a semiotician would have a field day with. I mean, there's so much like subtext loaded behind every little detail, and so, but yeah, and that is a little bit. It maybe it's a little bit forced, but it does work for me. I thought that was a really unique set piece.
Like Brad said, it's an amazing set piece. Yeah. It looks amazing. It feels amazing, and the collision, like you said, of past and present is incredible. I just want to correct us real quick. The priest guy is actually played by Paul Livingston, and his character's name is Martin.
Okay.
So I think the other character, Arno, is the crazy redhead. He's got the stringy curly red. I think that might be
the one-handed man.
The one-handed man, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Also, you brought up Marshall Napier earlier, and I have to just urge people to go and check out images of him online, because he has the most Pennywise head I've ever seen, and I mean that as a compliment. I mean, he's got like creature feature written, and I love. By the way, I love guys that have this. That have these big distinguishing features like that, and you have to get a look at his dome. It's incredible.
All right. I'm all about domes. Oh, yeah. He's got a good face. I love his face.
Yeah.
For some reason in this movie, I thought he had a lot of presence. And when he spoke, I thought, I don't know, there was just something special about him. He's kind of got movie star quality.
It's a good performance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've talked a bit about the production design, art direction. Again, that sort of collision of the medieval time in black and white versus the contemporary, what is actually Auckland, New Zealand in the movie, is stark and beautiful. It's amazing how much they do with how little they have. I think that, Ward creates these two worlds, and yet when you look at it, a lot of the past is these characters up against a black sky with some rim lighting or something in black and white.
Yeah.
And but they could be in a closet in Auckland, and they're supposed to be on top of a mountain. I love the filmmaking trickery, because he has these long shots on top of mountains and things like that. We just buy it. And then of course, where do they go in the present? They're on that lake or whatever it is. They're at the cathedral. They're at the foundry with the guys who helped them cast the cross in copper.
The casting of the cross is one of my favorite images in the film.
It's beautiful.
That overhead shot of just watching that, brass or whatever, gold, pour in.
Copper, literally
it's
copper.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's copper. It's copper pouring in, and it's just the smelt. It's just amazing.
It is.
It's amazing to look at.
And yet, how expensive was that? Probably not that
Probably
expensive.
not,
They just went to a foundry.
And then
Here.
melted some copper and poured it through. Yeah.
And I love when they lay the cross down, that it fits in perfectly.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same shape and size.
That is very satisfying thunk as it sinks in there. And actually, those guys that are working at the foundry are pretty great themselves.
They are.
Yes.
All those guys.
Oh, yeah. They are. They were some fun characters for sure. They're it's one of the few, because this, you think of movies like Star Trek 4, where they're going back.
Yeah.
It does have that fish out of water. And this is one of those, where they're actually interacting with people. Because other than that, it's like cars, it's submarines, but this is actually interacting with humans of 1988, New Zealand.
And you buy it, because half the time they're not even understanding what the other is saying. But yet they're kind of progressing.
I had to put subtitles on for this movie.
Oh, I did too. I did too.
couldn't understand.
I was watching it with a friend, and I was literally like, "Do you want subtitles?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then eventually I was like, "No, I'm putting on subtitles. I don't know what they're saying."
Yeah, no, it's thank God I did, because I was mishearing so much stuff.
Mhm.
It's subtitles are neat.
I only got parts of sentences really when I didn't have subtitles.
See, I was foiled in this regard, and actually, we talked about an AI travesty in our last episode.
Uh-oh.
I watched this on Canopy, and it seems, and I could be wrong about this, but it seems like maybe Canopy relied on AI to do the subtitling of this film for me, because I was getting absolutely distinguishably incorrect subtitles on my thing. So I had to turn it off because I was where you guys were. I was like kind of lost without them, but I had to just rely on. And luckily, you don't need them too much. I mean, this is not really hinging on the dialogue all that seriously.
No, but the fact that there is dialogue, I'm guessing that probably hurt it abroad. Like, at least
the period dialogue.
At least in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, in the way that some of these actors were speaking their lines. Yeah. And it seemed like some actors, they were different. I mean, I think most of them were probably from New Zealand, but I thought I heard an Irish accent toward the beginning of the movie. Oh, yeah. And there was like a mixture.
It feels like that's what Griffin is doing. Griffin seems like he's doing an Irish.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just easier. Like it's easier to make the jump from New Zealand speak to Irish accent.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Or I don't know if Vincent Ward's telling us like this is anywhere UK. Like it's not. We're not sure exactly where we are.
Reading the synopsis, it is supposed to be in England.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in England.
Okay.
But there's like mixtures of Gaelic and stuff thrown in there.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about the history at that time, like how integrated everything was. Was the Irish mostly on the island, or were they, et cetera? But
I wanted to go back to those 3 Foundry guys because there's one guy in there that's kind of interesting, and his name, the actor's name is Jay Lagaya, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And I put that little.
Is he I think he's like Maori, right?
I think, and that's why he stood out to me. I think that might be one of the earliest representations I can think of.
Oh, really?
I mean, and now I'm not like an aficionado of Australian cinema, but it seems like a pretty early one.
New Zealand, yeah.
But also he stands out because he's a Star Wars character.
No kidding.
He's in the prequels.
Oh my gosh.
Captain Typho.
Oh wow.
So who's like, if memory serves, is like one of the bodyguards for Natalie Portman.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Interesting.
So he was he's got a very distinguishable face, I suppose.
He seems so amused by the visitors.
Yes, he does.
He's just like, one of them actually spits beer on him and he's still like, he's having a good time. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's a fun character to watch. And who was the other guy? Smitty, or the guy that Griffin keeps yelling at? He's like, "You need to do it, Smitty. You need to cast it in copper." And I'm just thinking, I'm watching these guys kind of stressed out. Like, are they just gonna like call the cops on these guys? Like, what's gonna happen? But they just go along with it. They're like, you know what? It's our last day. The foundry is closing, which again is sort of a signal of the end of the old world in a way, right? Like this older industrial foundry is closing, you know, because it's been automized.
I hate to drag us back to where we just left, but you might be right about some of the expositional stuff with the submarine, because I'm looking at IMDb here, and there's a character in the cast named Submarine Captain. Mm-hmm. We don't see.
Oh, there was a whole sequence probably.
Maybe,
interesting.
Huh. But there's a submarine captain.
You're right.
I'm seeing in the cast here.
I see that too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Unless we hear a voice that I don't remember or don't recall, that seems like
the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Nobody comes out of the sub. Nothing.
No.
They throw some big rocks at it, or I think it's probably copper because they have the copper stones with them. And then they go back under. They're just like, just a bunch of weirdos.
And maybe it literally was a scene where somebody pops up and goes, "Oh, that was a weird training drill we had to do in the South Pacific."
Right.
Okay, and it's like, that would
sure
have been
glad we're in a nuclear submarine,
right? And it's like, wouldn't we be complaining about how clunky that is?
Yeah, right.
I
think if that was the case, I'm glad with the ambiguous choice.
This is the better of the options.
Yeah.
Let us wonder what happened. Why that was there.
What did you guys think about Vincent Ward's ideas about that? Like, do you think that is he saying anything? Not that he's necessarily giving a message, but what's he talking about? Is there anything interesting? And we can cut this out, but I mean, I'm just curious, like, why Navigator?
Well, he's obsessed with medieval times. I mean, there is elements even in Vigil, which is a contemporary film. There's all this like these books that have medieval illustrations in them that are like a predominant like kind of part of the film. And then of course Alien 3, he wanted to make this planet of wood, but it's like medieval monks and all this stuff. Right.
He is sort of obsessed.
Yeah, just very, and I'm wondering if like this is sort of like his magnum opus in a way. Like this was the movie he really wanted to make. He made Vigil first because it's obviously a much less easier film to make on a lower budget. But this is the movie he really, really wanted to make ultimately. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he, just looking at his filmography, and I'm not super well versed in his filmography either, but I mean, just looking at it, it seems like he's a real, to put in simplistic terms, kind of a fish out of water guy. I mean, I'm looking at like a film that he does where there's like a marriage in the jungle, and he seems like a very Clash of Civilizations guy and fish out of water guy. I mean, what dreams may come? He literally just foists Robin Williams into hell,
the afterlife. The afterlife. Yeah.
So I mean, that maybe just seems like a theme that's running across his work.
Same with Map of the Human Heart. It's an Inuit little boy who gets pulled into, gets basically adopted by this rich, cartographer, and
Clash
then
of Civilizations.
and ends up in World War II as a bomber gunner, and so. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a predominant theme through the films that I've seen of him.
It seems like also maybe he's talking about time and sort of what's past is present and what's present is past, and the kind of like he's
mirroring,
mirroring, maybe circular time. That time is circular, and again, this whole idea of maybe dreams and reality, and what is real, and is it all real? What affects the other? It's interesting. I mean, he shows, it seems like one of the ideas that he's flirting with during the film is the idea of these guys sticking together and helping each other. Like there seems to be moments where they could come apart and where things could go wrong, but they're all kind of rooting for each other, and everybody has their own job. And sometimes they split off, but it's because they need to be with different people at the same time to make sure that the ultimate goal of setting this cross is achieved. I don't know, just some thoughts I had about what he's actually talking about in the film, as opposed to, just the beautiful images, which are amazing, but to what end, But I think he does a good job, definitely, of the whole mirroring of time and.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. And to what Brad is saying, I'm just noticing that he was an executive producer on Last Samurai, too, which has that exact same theme running throughout it as well.
Oh, does it? I've never seen it. I wonder if he was supposed to make that movie, too.
I don't know.
That happens sometimes with those exec producer credits.
Yeah, very true. Well, he couldn't be a farther throw from Ed Zwick.
Yeah.
It would have been a very different movie, I bet. Any other thoughts you guys have on the old Navigators?
Folks should see it. It's a pretty great, unique, and unusual and thought-provoking, cool movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I am shocked that this thing is not still talked about. Because it really does have kind of a timeless quality to it. It still looks great.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it in the best of conditions, and it still looks great.
Yeah.
And I'm just shocked that, and maybe the end is divisive or too much of an emotional punch, but I mean, I feel like I've seen much rawer endings of more popular films. So,
right.
I'm shocked that this is the first time it's crossed my radar, frankly.
Yeah.
Listen, Slynnet. Hello! Do you hear that? Griffin, it could be. We've done it. They're well.
It's a sign.
A dream. You've had a wonderful dream, Griffin. A wonderful story.
Colin saw it on Canopy. I saw it on Tubi. Where'd you see it, Brad?
I believe I watched it on Tubi as well.
Yeah. Good prints. Well, so Brad, just moving on, what are some films, 3 films that you've seen recently, old or new, that you'd suggest the audience check out?
Well, one is a film. It's called Songs from the Second Floor. I don't know if you all have ever heard of this.
That's an amazing movie.
It was the first film I ever saw of Roy Andersson. Roy Andersson is a really interesting filmmaker. He's a Swedish filmmaker. He creates these films that are basically like series of vignettes, and they're usually all around a central theme. Songs of the Second Floor is about kind of late stage capitalism, essentially. But each one of these vignettes is the most incredible wide shot you've ever seen. It is so meticulously composed.
Yeah.
They're almost like living Edward Hopper paintings. He also did You the Living. Pigeon sat on a branch reflecting on his existence, and the last film
trilogy
about endlessness. And They're incredible. I mean, this movie is poignant and also like really funny.
Really
it's a
funny.
great satire.
Yeah.
I was like cracking up and yet also like utterly gobsmacked by some of the images in this
Yeah.
film. I mean, they're incredible.
Kind of sounds like Jacques Tati a little bit.
It does. It does have a lot of Tati.
There's something
in it.
of Tati,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Especially
point.
playtime. Like it's that kind of scale. too.
Observational.
Like, yeah. It's
Interesting.
really cool. Really cool. I think you can stream it on the Criterion channel right now.
Nice.
Another film. I'm always championing this film. I did not see it recently, but I saw it a long time ago. It's
Yeah.
a movie called Trust. 1990
Hal Hartley?
indie comedy. And yes, Hal Hartley. I love this movie. Hal Hartley, I don't know why he's not as sung as other like
Yeah.
indie filmmakers of this time, like
Yeah.
Jim Jarmusch.
He
and
was for a
Tarantino.
while.
A
He was
little bit,
very big.
yes.
Yeah.
But he's still, it's so funny. I'll mention him to like other film buffs and they've never heard of him.
Wow.
And like, this film's great. This is my absolute favorite Hal Hartley film. It's very, very smart. It stars the late, great Adrienne Shelley.
Yes.
Who was tragically like murdered.
Yes.
This is horrible. She was murdered on her about to meet the greatest success of her life, which was she wrote the play Waitress.
Wasn't it like by a contractor or something like
Yes,
that? Yeah.
yes. She had a apartment that was also her office, and there was somebody working, like they had been like redoing like a floor beneath them, and he snuck in through the window and killed her when she was like taking a shower or something.
Oh my gosh.
And the husband was blamed for it.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yes, it's so messed
I didn't
up.
know about
Anyway,
that.
back to the movie.
Yeah. Trust.
He's really a true American auteur. You can
He
tell a Hal Hartley film from the opening credits and like from the first frame. He really taught me something about indie filmmaking. Like, you don't always have to have like fancy gear to make a great movie. This is all just great dialogue, great acting.
Yep.
It's almost all done with sticks. You know,
Yeah.
it's just the way, but he composes stuff in a very specific way. And this movie is hilarious. It's also one of Edie Falco's earliest films. And I believe also it's a super early project for Ted Hope, the great producer Ted Hope. He was the line producer.
Yeah. I get
on
his
this.
newsletter.
Yes, same. I do as well. But yeah, definitely if you seek this out, this is great. It's now part of what's called the Long Island trilogy, which includes his first film, The Unbelievable Truth, and another
Great
one
movie.
called Simple Men. But yeah, Trust it's such a wonderful little witty indie comedy from the 90s.
I'm so glad you mentioned Hal Hartley.
Yes, I love Hal Hartley. So he's
great.
great. And then the last film is actually a film that we discussed on my podcast in the first episode of our podcast. It is the film Prison from 1987, which is the first American film that Rennie Harlan ever directed. I do not know why this is not more talked about in horror circles, because this movie is excellent. It was written by Irwin Yablans, who produced Halloween.
Yep. Came up with the name Halloween.
Yes, he did. And it's a really early performance by Viggo Mortensen. You know, this is pre Young Guns 2.
Yep.
This is pre Reflecting Skin. This is pre Indian Runner.
Ah.
Yeah, but it's great. It's so many great set pieces. There's a scene involving barbed wire that you will never forget. It's
Okay.
so good. But yeah, can't recommend this great little horror gem.
I can't wait to see this. We should do this one. This is an interesting genre
Kane
piece.
Hodder, huh? Okay.
Yes, he plays. Yeah, he's very briefly featured in the film.
Okay. Okay.
And if you get a chance, guys, go to Brad's podcast and listen to the Prison episode. It's so good. The movies they talk about. I learned a lot, and it makes me want to see these films. Well, do you have any projects that you're working on that you want to talk about?
Well, we wrote for the short that's been on the festival circuit, the Red Hourglass. We're trying to get financing right now for the feature film version of that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of one of the big
Fantastic.
projects going on at the
Do
moment.
you have like a log line or anything?
What's that?
Do you have a log line for it?
Well, it's basically very similar to the log line of the it's about a woman who is she's very evangelical, deeply pious, and she, after a mysterious encounter with a Black Widow, she becomes pregnant. And, obviously because she's so pious, she can't abort the baby. She has the baby, and then this really weird cult starts to form around her
Sounds
home
great.
and following her life. The feature, though, has also got a real kind of environmental Armageddon sort of theme
Okay.
to it. I always just make movies about the things that scare me. So
That sounds horrifying.
Yes. So.
How can people find out more about you?
You can go to CINESTER, that's sinister.com, and check out some of my work. You can also find us on any of the podcast streaming places for My Dad's Video Store. Just look up My Dad's Video Store. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're basically everywhere.
Fantastic. This episode is sound engineered by Colin Dixon. It is edited and mixed by William Budell, produced by William Budell and Colin Dixon. Original music composed by Michael Riola. Recorded at Harkness Studios in beautiful Redondo Beach, California. If you'd like to contact us with comments, suggestions, or high praise, email us at cosmicmotionshow@gmail.com or send us a voice message at speakpipe.com/Cosmic Motion. You can find us on the socials at Cosmic Motion or Cosmic Motion Show. Emails, messages, audio, or other media you send us may be featured on the program. Thanks for joining us this episode, BC Jones. It's been a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks to my amazing co-host, Colin.
Beware of underarm boils, folks.
We look forward to sharing more thoughts with you on the next one. Until then, keep learning, growing, and creating. So long.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.